at live Q&A. I'm so excited to be here. My name is Tracy Matson. For those of you that are new, I am a certified professional dog trainer and behavior consultant from Utah. I'm going to put a book under here just to make this a little bit higher. Feels like I'm looking down. There, that's better. Um, so, welcome everybody. If you're new, when you jump on, just put your name and state or country, just because it comes through as Facebook user sometimes. So I just want to be sure that I get you entered into the drawing. I do have Jade here tonight, so she can draw a name out of the food bowl. Hopefully, she's fast asleep right now. She went hiking today with me and three of my client dogs, so she's pooped. She's like tired. So anyway, while we are waiting for people to get on, I've got to get my thing close so I can write your names down. Um, in the caption or the reminder for tonight, I had, hey, Monica, um, welcome back. And Anita, okay, before I talk, I'm going to put everybody's name down. I'm actually reusing some papers that I had some notes on, so we'll be writing on the other side, but they can't read, so. Hi, Brian. I'm going to add Renee as well, because I know that she will be following soon, and there she is. Illinois. Last week, I think we had 4 people from Illinois. Which is awesome. Hey, Cindy. And Cindy, I know where you're from, so you don't have to tell me. And I know where Nicole's from. It's just like the new people, or if you're not on here a lot, then I don't always remember. But you guys, I all know where you're from. Hey, Nicole. Okay, I'm putting these in like I'm reusing the backside of something, but okay. So there was a post. I don't know which day it was, but somebody had talked about you need to be the alpha, and so I did a really long answer, and you may not have even seen that post, but I said that I would talk about the dominance theory and alpha at the first part of the live for those that are interested, and because it's recorded so people can go back and review it. Um, so 10 plus years ago, I um, was a different kind of trainer, which means I used choke collars, prong collars, e-collars, which I'm embarrassed to say. And I did alpha roll dogs and things like that. But that's how I learned. Like that was how I was taught, and that's how I learned with search and rescue dogs. And it wasn't until I adopted one of the dogs rescued from the Michael Vick dog fighting bus that best friends found a science-based trainer for me, and that's where I learned everything that I know now, and why that other stuff doesn't work. So I totally understand when people. I mean, there's TV shows, there's so much stuff on the internet that says, you have to be the pack leader, you have to be alpha. I even have clients that will say that, and so I try to just like educate um, as best I can. So I wanted to talk about that a little bit. The dominance theory was started by a guy. I can never remember his name, but it was um, he did it on wolves that were captive in like a zoo environment, and they were all juvenile, not from the same family. And he noticed that they would fight for to be like the top dog, or they would fight for resources. And so that's how that whole dominance theory came about. That the winner, and sometimes these would be like really bloody battles. And so the winner would be considered the alpha dog or the top dog. Well, as other scientists started to study wolf families in the wild, they realized that that's not how actual wolf families operate. So the original study was done by all singletons, not from the same family, and they would just put them in captivity. So if you study wolves in the wild, you will notice that um, they they all work together as a family unit to secure food and things like that. And it's not in their best interest as far as survival to fight with each other, because that's one less wolf to be used for, hey, Fiorella, to be used for hunting and stuff like that. So, um, in order for them to um, be able to, hunt and stay healthy and reproduce and all of that stuff, it's not in their best interest to fight. So if you look at a regular wolf family, um, they don't do that. So that whole theory was debunked um, many years ago. But unfortunately, some trainers still use it. Some people still, um, talk about dominance theory. And in actuality, dominance is very fluid. So, as an example, um, in fact, this just happened today. Okay, Maddie was in her crate and she was chewing on an antler. And Daphne was watching her and then, like, walked up and very gingerly took the antler, and Maddie just let her. She's like, yeah, I'm done. You can have it, whatever. So there was no growling, no nothing. So, in that instance, like, really neither dog was dominant. Maddie's basically like, yeah, I'm done. You can have it. So Daphne took it. Um, Willy Wonka, who just got back from set. All my dogs are sleeping right now. There's, there's Daphne asleep. Willy Wonka's asleep. The other two are asleep over here. Willie was chewing on a toy, and um, my board and train little French bulldog came up and tried to take it from Willie, and Willie growled at him, and so Maui backed away. So in that instance, Willie was dominant because he basically growled and said, "Nope, that's mine, and you need to back away." And Maui said, "Okay, sorry," and backed away. So in that instance alone, Willie was dominant. Um, so another time, like, Maddie was eating her food, and Jade went up to try. This was when Jade first came home. She would eat her food really fast, and then would go try and eat the other dogs. And so she went and tried to eat Maddie's food, and Maddie snapped at her and said, "I don't think so." And Jade backed away. So in that instance, Maddie was dominant. So it's very fluid, and it depends on the resource. So, like, sometimes Jade would get on the bed and lay on the corner of the bed, and then as the other dogs like would come up, she'd kind of give them the evil eye, like, "I dare you to get on the bed." And sometimes she would kind of like growl or snap at them, and then they would back away. So in that instance, Jade was dominant. But if we're talking about the couch, any of them can jump on the couch and nobody cares. Now, I did not let Jade do that. If she growls at somebody jumping on the bed, I say, "Oh, Jade, I'm so sorry you just lost your bed privilege." And so for a while, I would let the other two dogs on first, and then she would get on last. And that now she doesn't do it anymore. So I didn't have to punish her. I didn't have to alpha roll her. I didn't have to show her who's boss or be the pack leader. It was just a matter of communication and information for her, like, oh, yes, that's not how we do things. That's not very nice. So I'm going to have you get down. I'm going to let the other two dogs up, and then you can get up. So and it depends again on the resource. So with Jade, a bed or food or bones. And if I have board and trained dogs here, if Jade's laying on the bed and chewing something, and another dog walks up, she'll just give a soft growl, and the other dog will back away. And so in that instance, Jade is dominant. Um, if one of the other dogs like growls back and says, "But I really want that and I want it now," and if Jade says, "Okay, fine, you can have it," then in that instance, the other dog is dominant. So some dogs will resource guard couches, beds, whether human beds or dog beds, people. Sometimes Jade will be laying on my lap, and if she doesn't do this with the dogs that live here, but if I have a board and train, if they start walking up to me, she'll give a little like a growl, and they back away. So I I really don't have to do anything. They had a little conversation and they worked it out. So I don't ever let dogs fight, but to the extent possible, I let them communicate because that's what they do. And a growl is not bad. I actually really appreciate it when a dog growls at me because they're saying, "You're too close. I'm not comfortable. I don't know if this is safe." And so I'll be like, "Oh, okay, that's totally fine. I will back away." So that doesn't mean that that dog is dominant over me or that I'm not the alpha. Um, it just means I'm respecting that dog's space and that dog doesn't feel comfortable. So I'm going to respect that and back away. Um, when we talk about, so hopefully, does that all make sense? So dominance is very fluid. And the whole dominance theory, as far as fighting and alpha rolling and stuff to be the alpha dog, that whole thing was debunked. And I do have a handout. I have two handouts on this that are really good that explain it really well. And if anybody would like it, just email me, Tracy@Pupford.com, and I'm happy to send those to you. Um, one is a really good article from APDT, which is Association of Professional Dog Trainers, and the other one is by Pat Miller, who's a certified behavior consultant and an author. She's written a lot of books, um, and they're both really good articles. The one by Pat Miller also talks about why we don't really use alpha, and a lot of what she says kind of repeats what the other APDT. But because um, dogs have been, selected and bred over years and years, like thousands of years, um, we really can't consider them from wolves. We can't really say that, well, dogs are like wolves because it's been so long and we've pretty much bred out like all of the wolf traits and everything like that. And we have domesticated them by breeding certain traits that we like and then making them pet dogs and things like that. So the other thing is dogs know that we aren't dogs. So again, if you look at the wolf family, they're all the same species and they are an actual, like, wolf pack family. Um, in a home situation, dogs know that we're not dogs. We don't look like dogs, we don't smell like dogs, and so there's no need for us to have to alpha roll or show the dog that we're the pack leader or that we are alpha. Um, when people use those terms, I do kind of cringe a little bit, but I also remember that when my clients call me for something, they may not know, just like I didn't know back when I started. So then I try to educate them, give them handouts, let them know a lot of those terms are not used right. And this is why, because it's been, dogs have evolved for so many years that it just doesn't apply anymore, especially in a domesticated environment like a home. So instead, I like to explain that I like to have a relationship with my dogs based on communication, mutual respect, mutual trust, um, and it's a two-way street. Like they look to me for information, and I give them information. If they are going to make a wrong choice, then I might be there. Kind of, I heard one trainer put it as like I'm a parachute. So I'll let the dog kind of um, explore and kind of figure out what I should do. But then if the dog is going to make a wrong choice, I might be there as the safety parachute and say like, oh, hey, let's do it this way instead, and then reward that behavior. Okay, so an easy example would be a dog that jumps up on people. Back in the day, we used to knee the dog in the chest or step on their back feet or do something aversive. And that can actually frighten a dog, shut a dog down, make them afraid of us. But instead, I will usually like ignore the jumping, but teach the dog, you know what, if you sit or have 4 feet on the floor, I will pet you. Then I will acknowledge you. So it's just teaching the dog what we want him to do instead. That doesn't make me an alpha or a pack leader or anything else. It just means that we are communicating out of um, like a good relationship, trust, respect, like things like that. So hopefully that makes sense. If it doesn't, again, email me for the handouts because I'm sure the experts explain it much better than I do. Um, but yeah, I just kind of wanted to go over that since it was brought up in a post. So, okay, let's get to the questions. Anita says, I call my pooch by saying good dog like a party, but sometimes she turns to eat poop before she comes to get her treat. Um, you once said I should still reward her if she comes after she inhaled poop. How isn't that confusing since she gets rewarded if she doesn't eat the poop or after eating poop? Reward should be better if she doesn't eat and come immediately. Yes, I agree. But and maybe what I would do is put your dog on a long line if you know that your dog because see actually what you're rewarding is the come. So even though your dog has eaten poop and then comes to you and you're treating for the recall, not the eating poop. So what I would do is if you call your dog and then your dog turns to eat poop, then I would interrupt that and say, "Oh, hey, that's icky. Leave it." And then if your dog leaves it and then comes, then reward. But you would want to like interrupt that and redirect. So if you have your dog like on a long line, and if you know your dog does that a lot, then I would put your dog on a long line when she goes outside, so that when you call her, if she turns to eat poop, then you can interrupt and say, "Oh, leave it. That's icky." And then gently, like not yanking, but gently give her a little reminder and like reel her in and make that the party. Like, "Oh, good girl, let's go, let's go, let's go." And then always make sure that the reward is better than the poop, which I know to some dogs, poop is the best thing ever. So make sure you're using something like with Leave It, I will use salmon treats, I will use real bacon, some, well, yeah, those two. Um, so you want to, so when you recall, if your dog turns to eat poop, don't don't allow her to eat that and then come. You want to like interrupt that. So like a hey that's icky, and then help the dog with the leash, and then reward the recall and the Leave It. So does that make sense? Um, and yes, the reward should be better if she doesn't eat the poop. And so if she comes immediately and doesn't eat the poop, I would make that a better reward so that she knows like, oh, I really wanted that poop, but if I leave it, I'm going to get or a piece of chicken or something really, really good like that. But it's kind of the same with a dog. Like once you call them and then they sniff along the way, like Jay does this sometimes when I'm at my office. So I will let her out to go potty and sniff, and I will call her. I don't always call her because I pretty much know she's not going to come in that environment because that's where all the dogs potty, and it's like a smorgasbord for her of sniffing. So, but sometimes I'll say, Jade, come on, let's go. We got to go. And she'll take her time and sniff. And so I will actually get in the car, drive over, open the door, and then she knows, oh, I better come or I'm going to get left. Not that I would actually leave her, but then when she's running up to me, then I praise her and give her a treat because I'm actually rewarding the coming to me and not the fact that she took her time and was sniffing everything before coming. Because you always want to reward the recall because your dog's not going to remember, um, oh, I ate poop, so I didn't get rewarded. What your dog will remember is, well, you told me to come and I came and get rewarded for it, I'm not going to come. So that's why she looks at me, um, then I will reward her with something better than the poop, but then I will pick it up and put it in the garbage so that she doesn't then go back to it. Because she probably would. After I gave her a treat, she'd probably be like, oh, now I'm going to go back for dessert. So I redirect her, give her the better treat, and then, pick it up with a bag so that she can't get it. So Anita, does that make sense? Okay, so Cindy, Pepper finally um, does that, and Joey knows how to not be relentless. Took months, but he understands now. Okay, that's awesome. Sometimes it does take months, and it does take a long time. Joey allows me to treat Pepper first, then he waits, and I treat Joey. Joey has allowed Pepper to go first with feedings, treats, and playing with toys all on his own. That's awesome. Um, so, like Joey allows Pepper to be alpha. So remember, after you probably typed this before, like as I was talking. So it doesn't have anything to do with alpha. Um, it has more to do with, I mean, if neither dog is really growling or doing anything, then really, and I do this with my dogs. Like I'll have one sit, um, and then I'll do wait, and I'll give the other one a treat, and then treat the one that's waiting. But it doesn't mean the one's alpha over the other. It just means that they're sharing. Um, or that one is allowing the other one to go or to play and stuff like that. And the fact that they flip flop is great. I mean, that means that they communicate really well. They aren't using aggression to solve problems or things like that. So that's actually really good. But um, yeah, and some of these terms like dominance and alpha, they've been used so much in TV and if you Google it, it comes up so much that it just gets used wrong a lot. So hopefully the explanation at the beginning helped. Um, oh, Nicole, did I ever meet Frodo? No, I didn't. I did. I did meet most of the dogs that best friends took. So the ones from Bad Rap, which I think Frodo was at Bad Rap. I didn't meet any of those dogs, although I followed a lot of them, like Johnny Justice and some of those dogs. But I didn't meet Frodo. But yeah, I met pretty much probably more than half of the victory dogs that best friends had. So I've met a lot of those. But um, hey, Emily. Virginia. So Emily, my whole family is in Virginia right now for Christmas, and I'm here because I had to work. Um, so yeah, for those of you that don't know, out of all of the victory dogs that were rescued, the last ones passed away this past week, which has been really sad because this is like the end of a whole legacy. I mean, these dogs um, that were evaluated and placed in rescues and placed in homes. Um, the one that I had is the reason that I got into training and learned science-based training. So they they changed a lot of people's minds about pit bulls and about like just because they're rescued from fighting busts doesn't mean they can't be placed in homes because a lot of the dogs that I know were placed in homes with children, other dogs, cats, and did great. So it's been kind of sad for all of us this week, just knowing that this is the end of a legacy, and the last one has passed away, so there aren't any alive anymore. But yeah, so grateful for the people that did step in and say, hey, let us evaluate these dogs, um, and let's just see. And out of all of them, there was only one that needed to be euthanized because that dog had such severe aggression that they didn't feel like it was safe. So, and then there were a couple that had to be, they had to remain at Best Friends in their sanctuary program. They weren't allowed to be adopted out, but they could stay at Best Friends and they lived a great life there. But all the rest of them got adopted. So, um, okay, Anita. Yes, Longline doesn't work always, gets stuck on plants and stretches across our pool, so that doesn't work for us. Um, so, oh wait, sorry, Brian, I missed your question. I'll go back to it. Um, so Anita, is this just like when your dog is out going potty and you call him back in, or have you been out like playing and then you're calling him back in? Because one thing that I would recommend is if it's like a potty break, go out with your dog and pick up the poop right when he does it, he or she. I can't remember if your dog's male or female. Sorry. Um, so pick it up right at the time, um, or take your dog out on a leash so that that you can help reel it in, um, reel your dog in, and do a leave it, and then make that more rewarding. Um, so you could do that as well, and yeah, and stretches across our pool. Oh, I'm gonna come to your house. You have a pool, not right now because it's probably freezing out. Um, so yeah, I would just try to, what I have to do is I try to clean up every day after the dogs. Although right now, while we have snow and it's single digits, it doesn't always happen. Um, but I try to do that or go out with the dogs just because I do have one dog that likes to eat poop. So, um, yeah, maybe if you could go out on a 6 foot leash with your dog, um, and then do the recall and reel your dog in, make it a party, but then make it so your dog's not able to turn around and go eat it. And then you can reward for the come, pick up the poop, and try it that way. Um, okay, so Brian, Peyton, 13 months old, loves to play fetch, but does not realize the ball. Oh, release the ball, and today growled at me when I took it away. Um, I put her in her place. Now she starts to tear apart her blankets, beddings, etc. She is really showing me a big change in her behavior. Okay, so um, what I would do first off is teach like a trade. So again, when she um, when she growls, she's basically saying, "This is my ball. I don't want you to take it." And so usually if a dog growls, that's a warning. And so I just say, "Okay, fine, it's yours." But then I will show them something else of equal or higher value, um, and say, drop it, and then if you drop it, I'll give you this. So we had, when I was in rescue, we had a dog that wouldn't release his ball, and if we sometimes, and he would let us take it, but sometimes he would like rebite to take the ball again, and sometimes like we would get almost bit. Um, so what we would do is he would bring the ball back, and then I had a second tennis ball that I would put in the chuck it and show him the tennis ball and say, drop it. And then he had to drop it, at which time I stepped on it. So he couldn't go back and drop it. But then as soon as he dropped it, I threw the second ball. So I was trading. It's like, you give me this one, and then I'll throw this one for you. So we just kept doing that. Then when he went to chase the second one, I would pick up the first one. He would bring the ball back, and I would show him the second ball again, and say, drop it. And as soon as he dropped it, I'd step on it. Um, because with this particular dog, you didn't want to like reach down and pick up the ball because he would go for it too. So I would just step on it, while he had his eyes on the ball I had in my hand, put it in the chuck it, and then throw it again. So, um, and I would be, when you say that you put her in her place, you want to be careful not to punish her for growling because that's just how dogs communicate. So a growl is like, let's say somebody was going to come up and try to steal your car, and you said, "Yeah, you're not going to take my car." Um, that's kind of what a growl is for a dog. And if we punish them for growling, then they might go right to a bite. Like, well, I got in trouble for growling, so now I'm just going to bite you for trying to take my ball. Does that make sense? So we want to be careful not to punish for growling. Although sometimes it is kind of a natural tendency, like to say, "Hey, not that that's not very nice." I mean, I've even done it just out of kind of a reaction. But then I'm quick to say, like, here, let's trade instead. So I'll actually teach a trade and teach a drop it. So I'll give the dog something and then show them something of equal or higher value, say drop it. As soon as they drop it, then I'll say yes and then treat or give them the new item. And then sometimes I will give the original item back. So, like with Peyton, if you have two different balls, have her drop one, give her the other one, and then pick up the original one and just trade back and forth. So to the dog, it's like, okay, I give up my item, but I get something even better, and then I get my original item back. So then the dog's more willing to give stuff up if because they know they're going to get something better. So I try that because that's what I've done in rescue to get dogs to release balls. So my little foster dog Willie, oh my gosh, I have to tell you this. Look how he is wrong. He's been with Fetch for a week because Fetch is a doggy daycare and it's the they have a nonprofit rescue and that's where he's from. And I had a board and train last week that we didn't realize was going to be a little dog aggressive towards smaller dogs. He goes to day. I mean, this other dog goes to daycare, has been fine, but he's always played with big dogs. So he had gone after Willie a few times. So I'm like, just to keep him safe, I'm going to take Willie to Fetch. So he's been gone for a week for his own safety, and then I just barely picked him up today. But he's been playing with another little special needs dog over there that doesn't have back legs, and so I think he's like pooped. He's tired. All my dogs are tired today. I don't know why they're all like fast asleep. Um, so if Peyton, now to answer the second part, if she's starting to tear apart her blankets and her bedding, that could be a form of stress. So remember, anytime we use intimidation or fear, um, there can be fallout. It depends on the dog. So um, so let's say if I like yelled at my dog or um, did whatever, um, then if they become afraid of me because I just yelled at them or alpha rolled them or whatever, um, they could become afraid of me. And so now they're going to go release their stress by chewing and shredding. So that could be a stress thing. It's also, you have a teenage adolescent dog that is going to maybe push the boundaries, see what they can get away with, just like regular teenagers. And so that's when we want to just like really make clear the kind of the boundaries. Like, okay, you have a ball, I need the ball, but here I'll give you this one instead. And so do it kind of in a positive way. Um, and if she does growl at you, just remember that's just her saying, nope, I don't want to give it up. So then you can say, well, okay, if you don't want to give it up, that's fine, but I'm for you. Or, well, if you give it up, I'll give you this one, and this one I'll throw for you, but you have to give this one up first, and then I'll throw this one, and see if you can get her to trade. So does that make sense? Yeah, we always see changes in behavior when dogs start to reach adolescent teenage, and I think that the tearing apart blankets and bedding could just be a form of stress. Um, and so that's why we always want to be careful about like, how we discipline dogs, which I used to do it too because I didn't know any different. My German Shepherd, who was a search and rescue dog, I don't remember what he did, but our trainer said, "Oh, if he does that again, you've got to alpha roll him." And at the time, I didn't even know what that was. I said, "Well, what's that?" And she said, I mean, she told me what it was, and then I did end up doing it only one time. But I have seen a lot of people get bit in the face by alpha rolling their dog. So it's definitely something you want to be careful of. And even yelling at them, doing anything aversive, there can be fallout, which means they can become afraid of us. We can shut them down. They can be, there's just a lot of different things. And so then that they have that stress and they're going to release it somewhere. So it sounds like Peyton is releasing it on the blanket and the bedding. That could also be boredom too. So if dogs are tearing up blankets and bedding, a lot of times that's boredom. So you just want to make sure that Peyton's getting enough enrichment, nose work, things like that. Another thing you could do to get the ball is like scatter feed. Like, oh, you have a ball, you don't want to give it up, but guess what? I have a whole handful of treats, and I'm going to throw them in the lawn and say, go hunt, and and then let her drop the ball to go like get all the treats, and then in the meantime you can pick up the ball, and then you can throw it again, um, and then kind of do that back and forth. So yeah, I would try that. Um, Anita, most times she comes before she eats it, but occasionally, and so disgusting. Yes, I know. I mean, when Daphne comes in the dog door, I can always tell when she's eaten poop because I can smell it. And at first I'm like, oh my gosh, who poops in the house? And then I realize, oh, it's Daphne. She just ate poop and I can smell it on her mouth. So it is so disgusting. I just don't let her lick me. Like it's off limits if she smells like poop. Um, and yes, I know with the virus it's hard to travel. My friend wants me to come to Rhode Island to see her, and I couldn't for a long time because of the virus, but I think it's finally open to where there's no quarantine now. So hopefully after the holidays I can go. But I actually kind of want to go in the summer. Hi Julie, I'm writing Julie down. I kind of want to go in the summer just because I want to go to the beach. So hey Julie, you are entered. Um, okay. Oh, you're playing Dr. Seuss game with your daughter. How fun! Okay, Fiorella. Okay, let's see. We are progressing with my Westie about his barking at the beginning of walk since the schnauzer bit him. He did stop for 4 days straight, which is awesome. On Sunday, an off-leash dog came and oh my gosh, your poor dog got bit again? An off-leash dog came and bit my dog while he was sniffing on the street. My dog didn't defend himself. He just turned his face away from the dog. Um, which is actually good in that your dog, um, well, not good that he didn't defend himself, but just like turned away. That's basically trying to like avoid conflict. After that, he sniffed other dogs in the park and played with one. On Monday, he started barking and whining again as soon as we were outside the house. It escalated when he saw the dog from afar, but he would ignore them or sniff them if the dog passed close to us. Um, so let me go back and make sure I'm answering the show. Let me just kind of read it to myself again. Um, Sometimes like things can escalate too. So um, is your Westie small enough that you can pick him up? So if you see an off leash dog coming at you, can you pick your dog up? Because I'm all for like let's get your dog out of that situation, pick your dog up, um, so that your dog doesn't get bit. Um, and it also depends on the other dog too. So if the dog park and he's sniffing other dogs and playing with one, um, that's good. But it could be that the other dogs like weren't a threat to him. And then on Monday, when he started barking and whining again, I mean, it could be like an anticipation of, okay, going to, we're going for a walk again, and I'm going to get bit by a dog. So sometimes dogs can remember like certain places. So if I've heard of instances where a dog was like attacked or bit in a certain spot, so then they are really afraid around that spot. So like at a dog park, if your Westie's never been bit or harmed in a dog park, that could be a safe place. Um, but if it was like, just coming out of your house or on a walk, then your dog could associate that um, with the walk. What I would really love is if you could videotape your dog's body language, and send it to me, because I would just be kind of guessing as far as soon as you were outside, he started barking, whining, and then it escalated. So that, I mean, that would be a stress thing or an anticipation, like, okay, we're going for a walk. Am I going to get bit again? Or, kind of a nervousness. I'd have to like see it. Um, and then when the dog gets closer, so a lot of times dogs will bark or do things to try and get a dog to move away or something like that. But then if the dog gets closer, then which is why I'd love to see a video. It's like, is your dog like shutting down? So that it's like, oh crap, there's a dog. Okay, I'm just going to pretend like you're not there, or I'm going to be quiet so that we don't have any problem. Um, and but the fact that he ignores them and sniffs them if they pass close, that's actually good. Um, that he's like not reacting. But again, I'd have to see his body language. So yesterday he did not bark until he heard a neighbor's dog barking. He barked for 3 blocks, then he calmed down and did not react when another dog barked at him. However, when we passed the same block at night, 2 schnauzers were growling at him. He froze, and then he sat. I tried calling him with the cue come, but he didn't move. So if he's already been growled at and he's like in a state of fear or is already almost over threshold, some dogs can't learn when they're at that point. So the analogy that I usually use is if you're on a walk and you notice somebody a distance away, and they're far enough away, but you're like, well, I don't remember seeing him before, but okay, whatever. And you're still like talking to whoever you're walking with or listening to your music or whatever. But let's say that person gets close and then pulls out a gun. At that point, you're in fight or flight or freeze, and you're not listening to the person walking with you talking to you. You're not paying any attention to your music. All you're paying attention to is what's happening right there. So you can't really learn or do anything at that point. So that's why when he freezes and sits and you try to say come, he like physiologically can't process that because he's in survival mode. Um, and at that point, if so, at the point when the 2 schnauzers were growling at him, and I'm assuming, do you have him on leash? Do you have the Westie on leash? Because I would, and then as soon as if he can't look at you, if he can't respond to come or things like that, then I would say like, okay, let's go, and then turn and go the other way. And so you're kind of again, you're like the parachute that is saying like, okay, we're in a situation. I can tell you're not comfortable, so let's move this way, and then move the other way. Sometimes like I will use a flight cue, especially when a dog starts barking and lunging, because right when they're going over thresholds, you're going to need something really strong for them to be like, oh, well, I really want to bark and growl and lunge at you, but hey, we're having Thanksgiving over here. So I will use a different cue that's not come. I usually use retreat. You can use walk away, party time, like whatever. And I teach the dog to by, and I teach this under threshold a lot before I expect them to do it over threshold. So I'll actually take treats and throw it behind the dog just to get them to turn and go the other way. And I use a treat that they don't ever get any other time. So that's why I say it's like their own Thanksgiving dinner. The only time like we ever ate turkey growing up was at Thanksgiving. So for little kids, the only time that they see Santa Claus is at Christmas. So it's kind of like that. So I would say like, party time, oh let's go. And so it's like best party ever. And I use like gizzards. I buy gizzards, like cut it up and then freeze it, and then I will take that and use that as like an emergency flight cue. Um, so that the dog knows that they're going to get this best treat ever that they don't normally get. And then what I would do if I were you is um, start to do like the engage disengage. So as soon as your dog like stops or sits or hears a dog barking, see if you can like click and treat before your dog reacts. So your dog is just like noticing another dog um, or sees another dog. And if you're West, you can just look at the other dog and not react, click treat. And then do that like a number of times and then see if your dog can disengage and look at you. So, and I usually give the dog like 3 seconds. So let the dog look, um, click, wait 3 seconds. If the dog doesn't disengage, then you can go ahead and treat the dog just for looking. Um, but if your dog starts reacting, then I would use a flight cue or a let's go and just move him away from that. Um, as soon as my dog got closer to the fence, both stopped barking and sniffed. When I tried to pull him to keep going, he barked at them again and tried to pass under the fence. Oh, wow. And sometimes, um, if on a leash, so you do have him on a leash, um, sometimes when we pull them away and they feel that pressure from the leash, um, then they react. So, as an example, this dog that I had here last week with board and train, um, he was acting a little aggressive to every male that came to my house, which one was the pest control guy, which you all know that I'm terrified of mice. So I have a pest control guy come like once a month and to keep the mice out of my house. They're welcome to live outside, but they're just not welcome to come in. And then one was a neighbor that came over to rehearse for a Christmas program we had to do. So when they came over, this dog would bark, but because he was a big like pit bull, I would hold on to his harness. But because I had the harness and was holding him back, he got even more reactive because I had a hold of him. And had I just like let him go and sniff, he probably would have been fine. But since the people that were coming over were a little afraid of him, um, I didn't want to let him go. And so instead I just said, come on, like we're going this way. And then I would take him back and put him in a crate. But sometimes like restraining the dog so that they can't move or they don't have the freedom to like just sniff or do whatever, sometimes that can make them more reactive. So again, if you can, you could just say, "Come on, let's go." You could drop treats the other way, so to get your dog redirected to go away from the dog and get moving this way. Um, but yeah, sometimes dogs will react more if that there's tension on the leash. So I would start doing some engage, disengage. And if you need me to send you the handout on that, if I haven't already, let me know. Um, Start to teach an auto check-in. So if you're on a walk, every time your dog checks in with you and gives you eye contact, I would click and treat. So it's like when you check in with me, you get click and treat. Um, so so then if your dog gets to the point where, oh, there's a dog, I don't know what to do, um, then if your dog like checks in with you, click and treat, because that's actually what we want. That's the second part of the engage disengage, is that they engage with something, and this can be a sound of a dog barking or seeing a dog or something like that. Um, if they check in with you, click treat. If you can catch it like right as soon as another dog barks or as soon as your dog sees a dog before he reacts, if you can click and treat before he reacts, that's awesome, because that's going to teach him, oh, if I just notice a bark or a dog and I don't react, I get a reward. And I like to use higher value treats for this, um, just so it's a really good reward for just noticing and not barking. Um, okay, let's see. Oh, Anita, virus getting real bad again. I've heard that. There's some places that are like in total lockdown again until like after the holidays, which is sad. And yeah, I figured it would be too cold right now. He hates being picked up. Okay, so that's even another problem. Um, so one thing you could do is kind of desensitize him, and counter condition him to being picked up, um, which could take a while. I'm actually doing that with another dog who is, oh, it's like three different breeds all at once. But he's small. He's like a small white dog. And I think part of his breed is Westie and Schnauzer and something else. Um, so you can get him used to being picked up, but if he doesn't like being picked up, then I would just, if you see a loose dog or if he starts to react, I would just say, let's go, and do it in a really happy voice, turn and go the other way. And then as you are able, again, try to get it before your dog starts to bark, and try to do the engage disengage. And again, I can send you the handout if you need it. Um, Anita, New York, New Jersey. Um, oh, it's 50s. So you want to hear something funny? As a side note, I'm from Utah, so I'm used to single digits and below zero. Back like 100, feels like 100 billion years ago, when I went to Arizona to go to school, being from Utah, we were used to cold, and we moved to Arizona. Myself and two friends, we all three moved to Arizona, and it was about, so it was December, and we were in Mesa. We lived in Mesa, went to school in Phoenix, and it was like 60, 65 degrees, which to us was warm because we had just come from snow in single digits. So we were out in our apartment complex. We were out swimming. There were people at the bus stop with coats and hats and scarves and gloves that were freezing at 65 degrees, and we were out swimming. Because to us, it was super warm. It's like, oh my gosh, this is great. We can swim in December. So yeah, it's funny like what you get used to. And even when I'm outside working with dogs, I very rarely will wear like a full big coat. I usually just wear a sweatshirt because number one, I'm moving a lot, it's warm, but I'm used to cold, so I really don't get that cold. However, when I work with people So her husband passed away and she is wanting him back after Christmas. We've been having issues though. Tug, my toy Aussie, is almost 15, and Buddy at times will start barking, lunging at Tug, a lot like he does my cat. He may not intend harm, but could easily cause it with his size. Wilma and Moose seem very protective of Tug, so they jump in and start a fight. Um, so what I would do, since well, I didn't realize you had 3 dogs. I've heard you talk about Wilma and Moose, but never Tug. Um, so since Tug is going home after Christmas, what I would do in this case is more like environmental management. So maybe like keeping them separate, especially if you know that Wilma and Moose are going to jump in. Um, I would maybe create a safe place for Tug to go. So, like right now, I have a big crate right here, and let's see if I can show you. The door's open, and I have a huge crate. There's actually 2 dogs in there. You can't see them because it's too dark, but Maddie and Jade both are in there. Um, but if I have a visiting dog, if Maddie goes in the crate, and if the other dog like still bugs her, then I will close the crate door just to give Maddie a safe place because Maddie's 11. Um, and then I used to have a dog who was triggered by another dog yelping. So if well, I was sitting in a rocking chair once, and the neighbor dog was over, and I went to stand up from the rocking chair and I didn't realize his foot was under it. And so the rocking chair like went on his foot and he yelped. And so my other dog like jumped up because that was one of her triggers. And she jumped up, but I said, oh Hallie, it's okay, it's okay. And I was able to interrupt before that happened because I knew that was a trigger for her. And so then once I interrupted, then she was fine. Um, So if you're not planning on having Buddy for very long, oh, and I think I said Tug before is not staying, but it's Buddy. Um, as long as Buddy is going to go back to your sister and it's not going to be a long-term thing, I think I would just manage that environment for now and just do that. My dogs, like each of my dogs gets along with my cat, but if the cat's out and they're all 3 together, sometimes they'll all 3 kind of bark at the cat. And I think they're just kind of like teasing the cat because they all get along. But then I'll go and disperse them like, okay, guys, that's enough. Leave the cat alone. Um, but like the first time Buddy starts barking at Tug, you could interrupt. So use a positive interrupter like, okay, Buddy, enough. Okay, we're not going to bark at Tug. That's enough. And then put Tug in a safe place or put Buddy behind a baby gate or in a crate with a toy. So again, it's not a punishment. But have Tug or have Buddy do something else. Like, okay, I'm going to put you in a crate with a stuffed calm, or I'm going to put you behind a baby gate with a snuffle mat. And try to interrupt that before it gets to the point where they jump in and fight. Does that make sense? I mean, that's kind of what I would do. And if you can just manage it until Buddy goes back, that might be the easiest thing. Okay. Oh, Julia, I'll come back and answer yours because I'm going to just stay with Nicole for a second. I've been managing by keeping Tug separate, but was wondering what training I should do to help. So that's where I would do a positive interrupter. And if you need a handout for that, I have one that a trainer friend of mine put together. So it'll be on her letterhead, but she doesn't mind if I share it. But basically, what she does is a positive interrupter. So um, it's basically like saying, okay, enough, or all done, and then redirect to a bed. So we'll interrupt, redirect to like a, hey, go to your crate, go to your mat, go to your bed, and let's chew on this. So you just like interrupt that behavior and redirect. So instead of barking at Tug, I want you to go in your crate with a chew toy, and you can even then close the door and do that. So yeah, that's what I would do is just interrupt, redirect. Um, okay. Yes, I agree with acclimating too. I went to Virginia once. I had gone in November and had an awesome time with my brother. And then I went back in May and I thought I was going to die because I'm not used to humidity. And we were putting in a garden for my sister-in-law and it was so humid. And we had to do like, we worked for like 8 or 9 hours, just wheelbarrow load by load, taking dirt to the back and making this garden. And it was so humid, I thought I was going to die. Kathy, yes, Merry Christmas from Utah to you too. Um, so Kathy and I are both from Utah, and Kathy, I talked to Caitlin today, and she said that you've been in touch with her about her coming to your house and helping with Charlotte and your grandkids. So you will love Caitlin. She's amazing, and yeah, she just called to kind of get the background on Charlotte. Since yeah, I forgot to tell her that you don't need to fill out paperwork; that you'd already done it. So um, yeah, we just chatted briefly about that. So she will be able to help you out. Okay, Nicole. Oh wait, did I? Okay, let me go back and answer Julie's, or I'll forget. How do I get Ellie to paw us gentle instead of her scratching us when she wants something? Um, hmm, I have never been asked that question. Um, I mean, sometimes I don't know if dogs can really like paw more gentle if it's more that their nails are long. Does Ellie seem to be like pawing really aggressively? Or, so first I would check nails, and I actually use a Dremel with my girl so that I can round it so it's not as um, sharp. But even my dogs that paw gently, sometimes it scratches, and it's just because of their nails. But you could teach Ellie to do something instead. So, like for instance, one of Jade's cues is I'm teaching her to detect when I'm getting a migraine. And so, what I want her to do is like target the side of my leg. So we teach hand targeting with a hand, and then we might do like a sticky note on the hand, and then I'll put the sticky note other places. So if Ellie wants something, teach her to come up and bump your leg or something that she can reach, and teach her to bump you instead of pawing at you. Does that make sense? So if she's scratching, I would teach her to do something other than paw. Um, like Willie, I don't think Willie can paw because he can't balance himself on one front leg. But I know when he wants something because he'll come up and rest his head on the couch and look up at me. And so I know that he wants up on the couch or he wants a toy or something. So he just kind of has done that on his own. He'll come up, put his head on the couch, look at me, and I'm like, oh, you want up? Um, and if I ignore him and don't let him up, then he'll kind of bark. So you could teach Ellie a speak, um, but I would be careful with that so that she's not like barking all the time. to get what she wants. But I would do a target. Just teach a little nose bump, and teach her to do that instead. So the way that you would do that is when she scratches you because she wants something, then do like the touch, and again, start with your hand, start with a sticky note on your hand, then put the sticky note on your thigh, and do the touch, and then give her what she wants. Okay, let's see. Okay, so I have to set Tug away in another room because otherwise he likes to come out and lay at my feet, even if Buddy is there, which is when Buddy barks at him. Um, yeah, so that could actually be a resource guarding thing too. So if Tug is at your feet and Buddy's barking at him, it could be that Buddy wants to be there at your feet. Um, so yeah, if you know that that's when that happens, so that's what we call an antecedent, which is what happens right before the behavior. So if Buddy being at your feet is what happens before Buddy starts barking, then I would do something else with the antecedent. So if Tug is laying at your feet, then Tug goes in a crate with a chew toy. Or Tug goes on a bed or a mat with something to chew on. That's if all four dogs can like get along with resources other than your feet and be okay. I think to be safe, or if Buddy's at your feet, then Tug goes behind a baby gate with something to chew on. Does that make sense? Um, okay. Florida is max humidity in summer. Hard to breathe. Yes, I I know. I couldn't breathe in Virginia, and it was only May. And I remember being in Mexico when I was in ninth grade and having a hard time breathing because of the humidity. I'm just not used to humid. Okay, Julie, she learned it from Dakota. When Dakota wants attention, she'll do it without her nails. Hmm, interesting. So I'm honestly not sure how to teach a dog to do it um, without scratching, unless you taught like her to just like put her paw up and touch you without the scratch. Which I've taught like a high five before, where they just put their paw up and do a high five, and then they're not doing the nails. So you could do something like that, like teach them to just put their paw on your leg or something like that. But if Ellie has a tendency to scratch, then I would maybe do something like a nose target instead, just so that it's not hurting. Um, okay, let's hurry and do a drawing. Um, I just want to go through and make sure that I got everybody's questions. Um, so Nicole, you must have seen all the posts about the victory dogs. See, like right now, Maddie's starting to bark. You want up? Come on, you can come up. So Maddie always asks permission before jumping on the couch, which she doesn't need to. She can get on the couch anytime she wants. But she'll bark and then I'll say, okay, come on, and then she'll jump up. So that's not something I really taught her. It's just something she's done. Here, let me meet the cord. Come on. Come on. Up, up. Up, up. Come on. You can do it. Come on. Let's go. Do you need help? Hang on. I'll do it. I'm going to help Maddie up and then I'll do it right. Okay, you ready? Oh, guys, she's heavy. She's 70 pounds. But she has a bad back and bad leg. So sometimes if she can't jump up on the couch, then I help her. Hey, hi, Maddie. Yeah, she's going to the vet on Monday because she's got two little bumps on her muzzle that I don't know what they are. Okay, let me just make sure. Um, so Fiorella, another thing I would do with your Westie is look up low stress handling and cooperative care, and there's a lot of things that you can do to get your Westie to like or tolerate being picked up. Because especially if he's been bitten several times by other dogs, I would want to pick him up just to keep him safe. Um. Oh, okay. You saw it on a bully breed owners page. Yeah, I've been sharing all sorts of. Every time one of my friends posts something about it, I share it on my page. Okay, Nicole, they can have toys but not shoes. Um, used to be able to have shoes until Buddy came. Yeah. So I think I would just, since Buddy's kind of the instigator, I would put Buddy behind the baby gate or in a crate or something. Really, do you want down? Okay, let me have Jade pick a name. Jade, come here. Come here. Can you pick a name? Pick a name. Okay, she's eating all the crumbs that were in here. Jade, come here. Pick a name. Oh, here, bring it here. So, hang on, she just took it. Okay, so she picked Anita Solomon from Florida. So pick a name now out of this, but she likes to pick the name and then take it. So I have to go get it. We're still working on that part. So Anita, congratulations. And whoa, really just jumped off the couch. Um, okay, so Anita, you know the drill. So email hello@pupford.com and let them know what kind of training treats you want, and they will send you a bag of training treats. So, congrats. Okay, thank you everybody for joining. Hope that tonight was helpful for you. And if you have any extra questions or if I didn't answer your question, feel free to email me. And then we will be back next Wednesday. I may actually do next Wednesday at 5. I haven't decided yet. Um, I mean, 6 works too, but I know for some people it's later, so I might try 5 o'clock. Um, so anyway, everybody have a Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and I'll see you next Wednesday.